Welcome to the Challenge 6 Part 1 video. In Challenge 6, we will learn about conditional statements, Boolean operators, and while loops. We will combine these new concepts with concepts that we learned in previous challenges. After this challenge, you will be ready to take on the final challenge of constructing and programming a full digital mood ring. Let's insert a page with a program editor and a new program. Let's type C6 as the program name for Challenge 6 and press Enter. Connect temperature sensor number 1 to input port 1 as in our previous program. Press Enter to complete the command. In this challenge, we are going to use a while loop instead of a for loop. For loops can be set to repeat for a specific number of times. While loops continue to run as long as the statement at the beginning of the while loop is true. In this case, we will run our while loop as long as the user has not pressed the escape key. Here is how we will set up the while loop. First, let's create a variable called key to store the name of the key pressed by the user. We will assign key an initial value of being an empty string. Type key, then control : equal to assign a value, then control multiply for quotes. Press right arrow to move past the quotes and leave an empty string. Press Enter to complete the command. Now let's set up the while loop. Press Menu, 4 for control, and 6 for while and while. The first statement of a while loop is a check of a true-false condition. In this case, we will check to see if the escape key has not been pressed. Type key for the variable that we just defined. Then enter the comparison operator, not equal. Then control multiply and ESC to enter a text string. We will learn more about the ESC text string later in the challenge when we discuss the get key command. Press Enter to complete the command. If the check at the beginning of the while loop is true, then the loop proceeds to run. Because we set the initial value of key to be an empty string, we know that the while loop will be true the first time. Now let's put the commands that we want to repeat in the loop. As in Challenge 5, we will read temperature sensor number 1 and get the value to variable t. We will display the temperature with label information on row 4 with the disp@. command. Press Enter to complete the command. Now we will use a control statement called an if-then conditional statement. If the first statement is true, then the commands in the if-then block are run. If the first statement is false, then the commands in the if-then block are skipped. In our first if-then statement, we are going to check to see if the value of the temperature, variable T, is less than 22 degrees. If the value is less than 22 degrees, then we will set the red, green, blue LED to display blue, and we will display a text message on row 5 that it is cold. We will get the comparison operators from the control menu of the equal key. In our second if-then statement, we will check to see if the value of the variable T is greater than or equal to 22. If the check is true, then we will set the red, green, blue LED to display red, and we will display a text message on row 5 that it is hot. We have defined if-then conditions that include all the values that T can be in mutually exclusive categories. Now, going back to our overall while loop, we are going to add a statement that will update the value of the variable key to the name of the last key pressed. This statement will allow the user to end the program by pressing the escape key. Type key for the variable key. Then Control:= to assign a value to key. Now, let's add the getKey function. Menu, 6 for I/O input/output, and 6 for getKey. GetKey is a TI-Nspire function that returns the name of the last key pressed as a text string. For example, if the last key pressed was 9, then getKey would update the value stored in the variable key to be 9 in quotes. If the last key pressed was the escape key, then getKey would update the value of the variable key to be ESC in quotes. Thinking back to our while loop condition check, if the variable key is ESC in quotes, then the while condition will be false. The false condition causes the program to move past the while loop to the next command after end while. Finally, let's spread out the time between each loop by adding a 0.5 second wait before going back to the beginning of the loop. Control R to store and paste the program name to a calculator app. Press Enter to run the program. Try putting your finger on the flat side of the temperature sensor. Put the sensor onto a metal surface or some other surface that might be cool. See what happens to the output. Press the 1 key or some other key that is not the escape key to see what happens. Nothing should happen. Now try pressing escape. Your while loop should end, and because there were no commands in our program after the while loop, the entire program will end. This ends Challenge 6 Part 1. Press Ctrl S to save and then move on to Challenge 6 Part 2.